They say all men are created equal.
Shot! Master!
I pull out the Glock.
Full of suffering succotash, son.
One of your nuts is hanging out of your shorts.
Real glass!
You have a father, but your father's dead.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Too Sweet podcast. And you'll notice it's just with me, Lucy, this week. Estelle and I really wanted to do it this week together, and we had all intentions of doing it. But I'm laughing because it is quite funny the way it's played out. So Estelle sat down to watch Dynamite, and she didn't realise, and neither did I, to be honest, that it was 3 hours long, and so unfortunately she didn't have time to do this review with me. If I'd have been waiting, to be fair, I would have been asleep and it would have been too late to do it. So unfortunately, you're gonna have to put up with just me. I'm gonna do my best. I have sort of watched Dynamite in little bits and pieces today. I've been away with work on a meeting, so I've kind of been like, I watched it in the morning, I watched bits and pieces of it on the train, I watched bits and pieces of it when I got home. So if I've missed parts out, or there's little things I've got wrong, little details that I'm maybe not mentioning, cut me some slack. That's the reason why I am fully expecting this to, well, I'm obviously going to do my best and to be as comprehensive as possible on my own, but, yeah, there might be little things like that, just to make you aware beforehand. Before I get into the review, I just want to say I will be commentating this Sunday at Catch Pro Wrestling in Manchester, and they're putting on an awesome double header. So they're putting on one show on in the afternoon, I think it kicks off about 2 p.m, and one in the evening that kicks off about 6 p.m, I think. So if you're around about the Manchester area and you know, looking for something to do on Sunday, definitely get yourself down to one or both of those shows. It's going to be awesome. They're putting on a Hoss-style tournament, which is basically like super heavyweight, so it's going to be amazing. I'm really looking forward to it, so hopefully see you there, get your tickets. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the Dynamite review from this week. And again, we're so sorry that we haven't done it for the past 2 weeks. Estelle's really upset that she's not here today because she really, really wanted to get back into it. Yeah, we were really busy 2 weeks ago, and then we also did the working class episode. Go and listen to that if you haven't already, because that was really good. And then last week we were both down and out with the flu, and you might still hear a bit of that on my voice, so apologies if you do. But yeah, I'm here today, and it's going to be probably Estelle on her own doing the all-out review on Sunday. So she's going to try and get that out as soon as possible, and obviously I'm going to be doing the commentating like I just mentioned. So we do think that she might be doing that one on her own, just so we can get it out as quick as possible. So yeah, so oops, just touched my mic. Just so you all know where we're at with things. And don't worry, you will get your Estelle fix very soon. But yeah, let's get into it, shall we? So this week we had September to Remember. It was in London, which is Ontario in Canada. And this was, of course, the go-home show for All Out, which, as I've just mentioned, is this weekend. It's on at an earlier start time on Saturday. Tony Khan moved the time so that it doesn't clash with WWE's event that they're putting on, which I think, awesome move from Tony. Not that I think WWE was a threat to it or anything like that, but I just think having it on earlier benefits everyone. I think it's just a great move. Certainly benefits us in the UK because we can watch it at a normal time. It's going to be on at about 8 p.m, I believe, on Saturday night. So hopefully I think I might be able to tune in and watch that live, and that's brilliant. Normally it's on at midnight, 1 a.m, and I can't stay up. So that's really fun. So yeah, and obviously we're going into All Out. We are sans Kenny Omega, Swerve, and Ospreay. So how are AEW going to cope without arguably three of their biggest stars? I mean, that's not arguable, but some people would say they are the three biggest stars. So it's interesting going into this, seeing how they've managed to work around that and build up some of the stars. I will say that, obviously, we didn't cover it last week. Kenny Omega getting written off, I think was done really quite effectively, to be fair. Like, if I've heard rumours, is he sort of still struggling a bit with his stomach, experiencing pain? Obviously, he had major abdominal surgery not that long ago. He's going to need time to recover, and he doesn't want to re-injure himself. So it's totally understandable that he needs a break. And I feel like this is a point in the AEW calendar where that is not going to be what's the word I'm looking for? Like fatal for them. And the same with Swerve and Osprey. Like this is a time where a good as time as any in the wake of Forbidden Door and All In, etc., to build some new stars, really start some new stories, and having Kyle Fletcher write off Kenny Omega, I think was a brilliant move, and that solidified him as a real danger, and we'll see that coming into play again at tonight when we get to that. So yeah, I will say, first impressions, I really enjoyed the residency at the ECW arena. I've seen a lot of criticism of that online, which I don't agree with, to be honest. I thought it was awesome and I love the vibes of that. But yeah, I will admit it was refreshing to be back in a full-size arena, and yeah, get that full atmosphere again. We also had Bryan Danielson on commentary. He is a mainstay of the commentary team now, which is awesome. He adds so much energy and insight, and he brings a unique insight that you know, the thing is with commentary that I find quite difficult, is that there's a lot of cliches and you're often repeating yourself in a wrestling match. There's only so many ways you can say the same thing, you know what I mean? Because, you know, wrestling matches can tend to be formulaic, but he brings a lot of new things to the table, and obviously everyone knows that he has the experience of being inside the ring, so that adds credibility and weight to everything he says. So overall, yeah, Bryan Danielson is an epic addition to the commentary team, and good for him. We had Taz and Tony Schiavone swapping halfway through this. So yeah, as I mentioned, this was a 3-hour special event. So yeah, it's cool the way they made that work, and I felt like that was just a pretty seamless transition. So the first segment was like a talk contract signing segment between Hangman Adam Page and Kyle Fletcher, which was you know, a great way to set the tone for the evening. I think that this is disputed by some people, but I do truly believe that this is going to be the main event of All Out, and this cemented it to me that it will and should be. We had Callis talking first, and doing what he does best, which is storytelling, and basically saying that he wanted revenge on Hangman since he first defeated Kenny Omega for the championship. So taking it back to, you know, long-term storytelling, Hangman had put in a clause in the contract that if the Don Callis family interfere, Kyle will be stripped of the title. And Don Callis was obviously like apoplectic at this, but Kyle Fletcher was not fazed, and I think these subtle little things like this are really setting Kyle Fletcher out to be a star, because he could be a chicken shit heel, and it would probably be quite effective in the Don Callis family, but he's not going down that route, and I really like that for him. He is cocky and overconfident, and he truly isn't scared of Hangman, which he put forth in this promo, very much so. And I love the way that they're mirroring each other. Hangman says he wants Kyle to do it alone because he sees the potential in him. Kyle says this changes absolutely nothing. And Hangman like warns Kyle of like the pain he's going to feel the morning after when he loses the belt, because he knows what it feels like when he fails to get the belt. Sorry, not loses the belt. You know what I mean. So yeah, it's Hangman has been there. He's been that young, arrogant, cocky wrestler who, you know, is maybe too big for his boots and then tasted failure, and he's sort of foregrounding that for Kyle. I do truly believe that Hangman isn't losing the belt to Kyle, and I do feel like that is pretty much a foregone conclusion. Although I could be wrong, I do feel like this is one of those examples where they could really, you know, look at this and say, everyone thinks Hangman's going to win, no one thinks Kyle's got an opportunity. This is a perfect opportunity to make Fletcher a star. But so, you know, I think that could come out of left field, but I think it's pretty much set in stone that Hangman's going to win this, but I don't know. We'll see. And then Kyle does a little bit of foreshadowing. He says, "Tonight I'll leave you beaten, bloodied, unable to walk." So a bit of a nasty prediction there. But yeah, this was overall very solid. 2 very solid promos, and I'm looking forward to this match. I think the feud it's maybe been a bit on and off, but I feel like overall I've enjoyed it. And I think this could be a star-making moment for Kyle Fletcher. He doesn't have to win it for it to be that. And in fact, it would probably be better if he loses because then we get more depth to the character. How does he deal with loss? How does he deal with disappointment? With his ego being bruised? And how does Don Callis' family react to that too? Obviously, they can't get involved in the match. So how are those dynamics going to play out? I think, yeah, this has all the goings of being a fantastic match, and I'm really looking forward to it. So we'll move on to Jon Moxley versus Roderick Strong. What about Daniel Garcia joining the fucking Death Riders, guys? Like, oh my god, I can't believe that Stella and I haven't had the chance to talk about this together. If you I've been listening for like at least a couple of weeks. I said to Estelle, I've seen rumours online, people think that Daniel Garcia is going to join the Death Riders. And she was like, no, I don't like the idea of that. Don't like the idea of that. And I was kind of like, yeah, I sort of agree. She was like, well, where does he go from there? You know, like what's the end game for Danny Garcia from there? I believe was her point, which makes sense. But we're going there. We're riding that roller coaster, baby. And I think there's some fun potential to be had here if they really do seize it. I think that I'll flog this dead horse until it comes to life. Wheeler Yuta's arc and him, you know, eventually fighting back. I mean, he had some pretty dirty looks for Danny Garcia in this episode of Dynamite. So yeah. But yeah, basically we have the Paragon being angry at Jon Moxley for everything and angry at Daniel Garcia for joining the Death Riders. Not really bothered about this as a feud. It's funny that they went with this match considering Moxley versus Darby Allin is obviously like, I would say like the main storyline to do with the Death Riders at the moment. But I thought that Darby would maybe get involved in this match, but he didn't at all. We had a pretty I believe a package just before this match, which was good, but yeah, other than that, there wasn't really much build. And also, we'll get to it later, but Darby had a little interview later. But yeah, interesting choice there. So instead, we had Moxley versus Roderick Strong, which was, yeah, a solid wrestling match that you'd expect between these two very solid wrestlers. And it was fun to see Marina and Roderick interact on screen, I believe, for the first time. And we had Kyle O'Reilly and Garcia like getting physical on the outside, and Kyle trying to stop Garcia getting involved, but then and also stopping Marina from getting involved too. But then towards the end, Wheeler Yuta grabbed Roddy's foot, allowing Moxley to hit the paradigm shift and locking the Bulldog for the win. So yeah, I guess this. I don't know. It kind of worked to add a little bit of intrigue to Danny Garcia being in the Death Riders, but I don't really feel like we went anywhere with Darby and Mox, so not overly keen on this. I think that I'm going to do predictions as I go along, but it might be a bit difficult to keep track because I feel like this feels like there's going to be a lot of closure. I feel like this is the chance for Darby to get the win over Moxley, but then I'm thinking about other matches that are on the card. For example, next we have an MJF segment, and thinking ahead to MJF versus Mark Briscoe, I do think that this is Mark Briscoe's chance to get the ultimate revenge on MJF. But then I'm like, would we get MJF and Moxley losing in one night? I'm not sure to be honest with you, and it's hard when you don't have someone to bounce off in the sense check what you're saying. But I think that Darby's going to win this one against Jon Moxley's coffin match, I believe. So I just think, you know, that's Darby's ball game, isn't it? And it's been enough build up. I think to be fair, the build up's been okay, but this week it should have been the hottest this week, and it wasn't. It was the hotter like in previous weeks between the two of them, but whatever. So yeah, like I mentioned, the next segment was MJF. They played like a video about him and Matt Briscoe, and then they showed him going into Tony Khan's dressing room, and try to get him to change the stipulation, which is tables and thumbtacks. Answered on a postcard what that means. And Tony Khan told him that MJF violates the integrity of the sport of pro wrestling. Everything he's done, the way he's treated Matt Briscoe, and tells him no, basically fuck off. And MJF says, I hope you're happy when there's another Briscoe in the dirt. So yeah, we're sinking low once again with Max, and you don't expect anything more or less from him, do you? But this to me sort of solidified that I do think that Mark Briscoe's going to win this match because MJF seems really desperate, and he seems, I even verge on a little bit pathetic because he's going to the boss, he's threatening the boss, oh you better change this. So clearly he's scared. I feel like that's going to play into the match. I think that Mark Briscoe is more violent than Max and less afraid, and he's going to sink to lower levels than Max in terms of the depravity of the violence and things, and the gore and the blood. I expect this to be pretty bloody. So yeah, I think that Mark Briscoe's got this one in the bag. Be interesting to see how they change up the vibe between Moxley versus Darby and MJF versus Briscoe, because on paper they're kind of similar, like in vibes, like in terms of you expect big violent spots. So it'll be interesting to see how they sort of contrast those two. Yeah, next up we had Bobby Lashley versus Toa Liona. So yeah, this was big meaty men slapping meat, which I've recently been told by Ian that I apparently say too much on commentary, which I think is a hate crime. I don't think I do say it too much on commentary, but anyway, yes, this was big meaty men slapping meat. Um, yeah, this was really good to be fair. Lashley put Toa over like really well, and you really did feel like there could be an upset at times watching this match. And it was also really fun to see them wrestle in a singles. Um, Especially Leona, to be fair. Like I don't think I've ever seen him wrestle singles, or at least I can't remember. In recent times in AEW. So it was really awesome to get him in an individual bout, and it worked really well. It was fun. It was physical. MJF. Three-letter abbreviations started with M. MVP got involved too. He fucking dropped Ricochet. Looked really nasty actually, and obviously he's going to be in the trios match on Saturday. So I quite like that. He got the chance to get a bit physical here, and I love that he's not just a typical manager. Like he does go in the ring as well. Um, yeah, I think this feud is it's good. I don't hate it. I could take it or leave it. Like. If if this match wasn't on the show, I wouldn't be like, well, where the hell were the Hurt Syndicate? Oh man, I really miss them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not that arsed, but equally, um, I think it's working out quite well. I think that they being faces is working, and they're a great foil to Ricochet being a little shit. Him with the Gates of Agony still sort of feels a bit meh, but at the same time, I feel like they're making it work to the best of their ability. I don't think it's for any fault of the wrestlers or anything that it maybe does feel a little bit lackluster, but you got to think that this match has like trios championships implications. Um, Feels a little out of place that they're not involved in this. So I guess maybe it's a sign that the tag division is growing. The fact that we are going to have um, so many tag team matches on this card, and this is one of them that's had a lot of airtime, and it doesn't involve championship. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty neutral about this. I feel so neutral I don't even really know or care to think about who's going to win. That came out too harsh. Of course I do care who wins, but um I reckon the Hurt Syndicate are going to win. But I feel like there is potential for an upset, and I feel like they preface that quite well in this match in just sort of putting over the Gates of Agony and the fact that yeah they actually can bring it to the Hurt Syndicate, but I still feel like they're building the Hurt Syndicate up majorly. So Hurt Syndicate win, I believe. And then speaking of the tag division, we then go into speaking of division and no championships involved, FTR and CNC have a talk. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty bang average promo battle to be fair. But I am looking forward to the match, and obviously it was great to see Christian and Cope get a pop in their home country. Christian barely talked at all, except to remind Adam that it's Cage and Cope, not Cope and Cage. And just the little details from Christian really make this, like his body language, the way he stood there, he was so stoic, almost like he doesn't really care, but like, he does care, but he's not had, like we've said multiple times, a personality transplant with this, which is great. He's still himself, and he is developed, obviously, because he's willing to have the team, but he's not a healed, perfect person, and I like that a lot. And I feel like in this it was very comedic. He said, "Oh yeah, so basically, obviously, FTR had said something like, 'Oh, if you touch us, you're gonna be fined $100,000," and Big Stoke was like, "Yeah, and it's even more if you touch me." But then Christian was like, "Well, I'm rich, so I don't care," and then started attacking them. And I think this fight actually did really enhance this segment because FTR Bold ended up with a bloody nose, and that really did enhance it, to be honest with you. It gave it just a next layer or next level of intensity that I think it probably lacked before that, and was kind of maybe risking just being funny. They're really trying to make it intense. Adam was saying, "Oh, well, I brought you into my house when you were homeless. I met you however many years ago, blah, blah, blah." But I feel like, yeah, like I say, it is a little bit daft, like with Stoke involved. It never really feels dead serious with that. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing and that's not Stoke's fault. But yeah, the brawl afterwards made it seem a lot more intense. So I would say going into All Out, who do I think is going to win? When you start a sentence and you haven't thought it through and you don't know what you're going to say at the end of it, that's me right now. But having thought it through, yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that Christian and Cope are going to win. But it would be very much them to want to put FTR over at the same time. But yeah, I do think that Christian and Cope are going to win this one in their home country. So even more tag team stuff coming up. We had the Young Bucks versus the Bang Bang Gang, and this was the for a spot in the ladder match that they're doing at All Out, which it's a 4-way ladder match, and they were doing some qualifying matches on tonight's show, which, listen, I think it's great, and it's great that we've got so many tag teams to fill this out, yeah, but it feels quite random and thrown together and kind of just like, let's get as many people as possible on this card, and it's a shame that there's no real story going into it, for the tag championships as well. It's just, it feels like, one of the other feuds that I've just talked about could have maybe done with the belts more to enhance their feud, but then we wouldn't get this match and these people wouldn't have matches, so, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. But I shouldn't be complaining because it allowed us to have these qualifying matches tonight, which were fantastic, especially this one. This one was probably the match of the night, and I just know that Estelle's probably watching it right now and loving life. Absolutely excellent. And also beforehand, we had the Bucks. They paid off production for extra pyro. They gave Renee money, and it kind of implied that they're like running out of money because last week they won the $500,000 match or however much money, which someone in our comments, I think on Spotify, said ages ago, like, I've never thought about, because we talked at length about these prize money matches, and they said, yes, I've never really thought about these matches before, but you've just, because me and Estelle were saying they could go on a shopping spree to show how they're spending it, and this person was like, yes, that's what we need from the Young Bucks. We need the Young Bucks to win one of these matches and then like go and blow all the money. So hello, that person, you were right, and you've got what you wanted. I think this is going to blow off in some way, shape or form. They also showed a video of them like gambling a lot of it in the casino. So yeah. Yeah, this was an excellent back and forth match. A lot of close moments. To be honest with you, I didn't know who was going to win. There really were moments where I thought that the Bang Bang Gang had it, especially when Juice Robinson hit the Blade Runner. But ultimately, yeah, the Young Bucks picked up the victory, and it was just spectacular. I loved watching it, very entertaining. That's what AEW is all about. The Young Bucks just being the Young Bucks basically, and they've been outstanding recently in the past couple of weeks on Dynamite, in their matches. So yeah, they're pulling out all the stops. So next up we had Beast Mortos versus Mascara Dorada for a spot in the triple threat with Okada and Takeshita for the Unified Championship. So, I mean, on paper, this seems just a bit random, just to be adding someone into this match. But, you know, I'm going to choose to focus on the positive because this was a great lucha match. Lots of innovative high flying spots. Another match that could have easily gone either way. Um, there was some sloppy parts in the match, like a couple of mistakes, but with the level of intensity they were going at, it was bound to happen at some point. Like I'm not criticizing them for that. It didn't take away from the match at all. And then so yeah, Masquerade had picked up the win, and then towards the end, well, sorry, not towards the end, at the end, Okada and Takeshita came out, and yeah, like the tension between them two is obviously the most interesting part of this match, and you would have wanted to see them maybe go 1-on-1 to be fair, but Dorada was sort of eyeing them up from the ring, and I saw him there and I was thinking, oh, it'd be funny if he dove on them, but I thought he was too far away. They weren't stood close to the ring, like they were deliberately setting it up. They weren't stood close to the ring at all. But then yeah, he did. He used the top rope as a springboard to take down Okada. I do think that Takeshita has a chance of winning this match at All Out. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like sort of solidify his move away from the Don Callis family, solidify him as the standout of the Don Callis family, and secure the championship. There is obviously going to be story beats in a major way in this match between Takeshita and Okada. So I'm really looking forward to it and think it's going to be great. Has the potential to be match of the night. Definitely. So got that to look forward to. Um, yeah, I do think that Takeshi's got a chance of winning, and I don't know. I'm not sure if I feel confident enough to like secure it, lock it in as my prediction, especially when I don't have Estelle like disagreeing with me, so that I can like double down on it because at least it's entertaining for me to disagree with her. Um, yeah, we'll go with just Takeshi, why not? Let me know what you think in the comments, by the way, about all these predictions. I want to know what everyone else thinks is going to happen. Um, And then we had like a street fight. I can't remember exactly what they branded this one as, but it was no DQ basically. Queen Aminata versus Tekla, which was really, really fun, and the crowd responded great to this. There was a "This is awesome" chant. Um, they, they did well to make it extreme and violent, but without the use of any blood or any sort of like, oh my God moments. It was more hard hitting than like gory or anything like that. So they used a lot of steel chairs, a lot of trash cans. Aminata, one particular moment, got like thrown onto the chair, but like at a side angle, and she went like lower back first. That looked really, really sore. Um, so yeah, Tekla ended up winning the match with a curb stomp on some chairs that were in the middle of the ring. I love these two like hating each other. I love the fact that they're so violent and they don't hold anything back, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's almost like a primal animalistic hatred they have for each other, and I think it's played out really well on TV. They also told quite a good story and commentary about how Tekla's going to be wrestling for the Women's Championship this weekend in that four-way. So how's she gonna fare going into that off of all the injuries that she would have sustained from this hard hitting match? Um, and then afterwards, the Tekla was just sort of announcing herself, to basically saying she's going to win that match. And then Tony Storm came out to attack her, and Hayter and Chris Statlander brawled as well. So things getting all intense up in here, like giving us a bit of a sneak peek. Julia Hart and Sky Blue came to make the save for Tekla, obviously part of the toxic triangle, and then Wheeler Yuta and Marina Shafir came down and like convinced Statlander to stop fighting too, which we haven't really talked about. There's been some really big shifts recently. I guess, I mean, interesting for Statlander to actually do something like this, but it's still a bit foggy, like what is actually happening between her and the Death Riders. I feel like they need to go all in on it because otherwise it just seems it's a bit unclear. Or maybe I'm just being stupid, and maybe I'm just not up to speed because we haven't properly reviewed it for a couple of weeks. Very much possible, but yeah, yeah. Security ended up having to break them up. We've also got an 8-woman tornado tailgate brawl. So that's going to be Harley versus, sorry, not versus. So it's tag team. Harley, Mina, Aminata, and Willow Nightingale versus Megan Bayne, Penelope Ford, and Julia Hart and Sky Blue. I think that'll be a sleeper match. I think it'll be really good, to be honest. And they've done the best with building the women's division and building a few stories going into this. I just think it is quite lazy just to shove them all into an 8-woman tag, that's going to be on the pre-show. I really do think we could have had another one-on-one, like, meaningful women's match out of this, or even a 2-on-2, Julia Hart and Sky Blue, maybe versus Willow and Harley. I'm not trying to leave out any of the other women that I've not mentioned there, but I just feel like it tends to water it down the more people you shove in there. I'm sure you all understand what I mean, and I love seeing women get in spots, and the more women on the card, the better, absolutely, but I think that quality over quantity every day. Like I said, I think this is going to be a great match, and they've done some great stuff going into it, but it's really hard when you just, it's a little confusing and complicated, unnecessarily so. And then you also have the four-way for the women's championship. So that's Tony Storm, Hayter, Statlander, and Tekla, these people who were involved in this brawl here. So it's like so many different people with different intentions and different interconnections with each other, which on one hand is good, but on the other hand sort of loses focus. And for that reason, I don't think Tony Storm is going to lose in this match. I think that she does need to lose the belt at some point soon, to be perfectly honest. I know a lot of people think she should have lost it to Athena, and I do definitely sympathise with those people. I'd be really, really frustrated if she loses it in some fucky way in this match. I don't believe it's an elimination match. So say, I don't know. I don't believe this is going to happen, but say Hayter pins Tekla, for example, and that's how she wins the championship. That I'd be really disappointed. And I know they can play off the whole, oh well, she didn't get tied. I mean, Tony Storm, she didn't get pinned, so blah blah blah. She never really lost it, and then she'll always have that. But I feel like that would be poor. She needs it to have a decisive loss to really put someone over. That would be a bit of a cop out, and I just don't think it would have any impact. So yeah, Tony Storm, she's got to win this. She's got to win this, in my opinion. Anyway, maybe you disagree. That's where I'm standing with it. And we had another pretty good match. After this, we had Jet Speed versus the Matriarchy, Killswitch and Kip Sabian. I would say it wasn't as good as the ones preceding it, this match, but it was still very solid and very and pretty good. We have all the things going on in the Matriarchy, so I quite like the way that Killswitch has joined them, and it's just not been smooth sailing. It's not as if, oh, we've got a big powerhouse joining us and we're dominating everyone. Actually, No, it's not like that. They've got complicated family dynamics. They're a dysfunctional family. Kip Sabian doesn't get on with Killswitch, and Mama Wayne's just trying to like fan out the flames, which I think is difficult, isn't it? You never. I feel like this might be a mean thing to say, but I'm never really gonna care massively about this without Nick Wayne there. So anyway, my point being that there was miscommunications between Kip and Killswitch. And then Jetspeed got the win. Bailey, Sam Bailey. No, not Sam Bailey. I'm getting him mixed up with an independent wrestler called Sam Bailey, who's fantastic, by the way. You should definitely go watch his matches. He's an absolute veteran of the British wrestling scene, and he's also the head coach at the Future Shock Performance Centre. Fantastic guy. But he's not the same person as Mike Bailey. They are two very different people. Mike Bailey got the win with a kick. By the way, AEW, you should sign Sam Bailey. Mike Bailey, hit a kick for the win, which was, he's awesome as usual. And then Killswitch stormed out. And Mama Wayne was sort of saying to Kip Sabian, like, oh, you were right about him. So I don't know where this is leading. Presumably somewhere it could be going absolutely fucking nowhere. Because I don't they don't have a match on the card. So yeah, looks like what is going nowhere. Then we had Big Bill cutting a promo on Eddie Kingston. What do we all think about this? I mean, I've seen a lot of criticism online about the build up to this. Like, oh my god, this is like the biggest return ever. Eddie Kingston coming back, and it's just been announced online. Like, he's put out a tweet saying, oh yeah, I heard you're up and challenge Big Bill. I'll be there, you little bitch. Or not like those exact words, something like that. So like, I know a lot of people are really upset that this hasn't played out on television, or like it wasn't a big surprise return at the pay-per-view. I get it. I get that. And I do agree it would have been more impactful if they let it play out at the pay-per-view, but I also think that they're doing it because he's a draw. But then it's just like, why couldn't he cut a promo on TV? Why couldn't he show up at Dynamite to accept the challenge or something? It's just weird, isn't it? It's just very weird that he would accept the challenge just online. So I feel like there's something amiss on this that like we don't know about yet. I feel like they're going somewhere with it. They're going to pull sneaky on us because I don't see this as the full picture. I really don't. But I don't know. It's very strange, and I really wish I could talk to Estelle about this, get her take. Because yeah, I agree with a lot of people. It's been lackluster, and but at first, my initial reaction to it was, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited about this. Like, when I first saw that Eddie Kingston, I believe it was tweet or Instagram, like, oh, yeah, amazing. And I was like, more excited for All Out. And I just thought, it doesn't matter how it happened. It's just exciting that it happened, that he did accept the challenge. But, when you reflect on it, I do think, yeah, this had the chance to be really impactful on, either at the pay-per-view or on an episode of Dynamite. So, weird. I don't know if something's gone wrong here, that maybe he was meant to be in the ECW arena, something fell through. Who knows? So I think we're maybe not getting the full picture here and something's going to happen. Either way, I think that Eddie Kingston will probably beat Big Bill, but who knows? I feel like we don't have enough to go on really to talk much about that. So then we had Darby Allin and Bryan Danielson, a little sit-down interview, which was nice. It's nice that they put Bryan in situations like this, like, sort of like, it was almost as if he was trying to talk some sense into Darby and try and get through to him, and, he's someone that people are going to listen to, so I quite liked that effect. Darby was talking about going on Everest again, saying how he nearly died, or he felt at points he was going to die. He saw all the bodies around him. Darby said that he blames himself for what happened to Bryan Danielson and the Death Riders, and Danielson's all, no, don't blame yourself, it wasn't your fault. Darby goes, you have to give me your word that you will not interfere in my match with Jon Moxley. and Bryan Danielson was like, "Well, you have to promise me one thing," and we have no idea what that was. And then on commentary, sorry, is this an ASMR channel now? That was a bit weird, wasn't it? I won't do that again. Don't worry. Um, yeah, on commentary they were like, "Brian, we have to ask you, what did you say to him?" And he was like, "Well, that's between me and Darby, so." That's intriguing. I'm very, very, very excited to see how this is going to play out. There's so many awesome moving parts. We have like Danielson and obviously his history with the Death Riders, him on commentary tonight saying he's given up hope for Wheeler Yuta. It's that foreshadowed to win that there is going to be some hope for him soon. Hope so, fingers crossed. And then obviously his Darby's match with Moxley is going to go off, and Danielson's just sat there watching commentary. He's pretty much helpless. What's he said to Darby here? I don't know. Like, do you think he's maybe said something like, "As long as you don't fucking kill yourself, mate"? Or I don't know. I'm really excited to find out. I think there's so many interesting ways this story could go. So I'm buzzing about it, and I love the fact that I think that's probably maybe why they put Danielson on commentary is to lead into some sort of angle. Not that he isn't good, obviously that's why, but do you know what I mean? I feel like this is leading to something. Okay, let's move on. Sorry, I'm rattling through this. We had Robin Renegade versus Riho. So it was funny. I found this quite funny that they like advertised this match throughout the show. Like they kept on putting a little graphic up about it, and it's like, but it's what? Am I missing something? Like Robin Renegade? Do I really give a shit? And then they gave her a job at entrance, and I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I don't give a shit. And it was pretty much a squash, just a bit of a drawn out squash. Rio won with a crucifix bomb. It was super quick. We had Mercedes on commentary the whole time, just not saying loads, but saying enough to put the whole story with Riho over. She had obviously had all of her belts out in front of her. And then afterwards, Robin sort of grabbed Riho's foot and then allowing Mercedes to go on the attack on Rio. To me, I mean, I felt like this did okay in telling a story that like Mercedes clearly sees Riho as a threat. Otherwise, she wouldn't do this before their match. Try to weaken her, try to play the mind games, what have you, get the edge. Obviously, she feels like she didn't have that for whatever reason going into the match. Otherwise, she wouldn't feel the need to do this. So, yeah, for that purpose, I felt like it was good. I just feel like I don't know. Again, is it because I've not been watching as actively as usual? But is this match just the build's just been pretty lackluster, and I don't see, unfortunately, Riho as like a very substantial threat to Mercedes Moné, and I don't believe she is going to win this match going into All Out, but I think it'll be a good match. Don't take me wrong. These obviously two of the best women's wrestlers in the world, and everything that Rio's done in AEW in the women's division would be legendary for her to hold the TBS championship. I think she'd be a great champion, but I don't think now's the right time. So, yeah, we had the Death Riders and the Ops and the like promo package type thing. So then we had the main event, which was Top Flight versus Don Callis family, which in this iteration was Josh Alexander and Hechizero. Weird to have this as the main event. I think that the Bang Bang Gang versus the Young Bucks. I know it's easy to say this in retrospect when we've watched the match and we know which one was better, but I feel like why would this be the main event? No offense, but why would Top Flight be in the main event? I'm not really sure what the thought process was behind this. Would have put the Young Bucks in that main event. I don't know what the thinking was behind this, to be honest. To be fair, Don Callis really put Top Flight over on commentary, but never ever did I think for a second that Top Flight had a chance at winning. So it was just a bit meh. It was just meh. It wasn't a bad match, like, but it just wasn't nowhere near as good as the other ones on the card. Um, the highlight for me was when Excalibur said about there was some technical wrestling on, and Excalibur went, Bryan Danielson is all chubbed up. I'm sorry, what? I had to rewind to make sure I'd heard that properly. Like, excuse me, and then Bryan Danielson went, yeah, I love technical wrestling. I love Hechicero. Then Don Callis goes to Bryan Danielson, you ever wrestle someone like Hechicero? Then Bryan Danielson goes, yeah, I wrestled Hechicero. Oh my god. Excuse me. It was so funny, man. It was so funny. Um, I, yeah, I don't even. Um, yeah. So, like I mentioned, I never really believed that Top Flight had a chance. They got some good offense in, but ultimately, yeah, I never once thought they were going to win, and they didn't. And Don Callis' family obviously won, and yeah, so the World Tag Team Championship four-way ladder match, that's catchy, isn't it? Will be Brodido versus the Young Bucks versus Jet Speed versus the Don Callis family. That's star-studded. I mean, that is a fucking amazing tag division that they've got in just that one match. But I do not believe that Brodido are gonna lose. I think it'd be, man, you know what? I've just been deep in it just now, and I actually think the Young Bucks might have this one, just because Brodido does sort of scream, doesn't it? Like, I hate to say this, transitional champions, just because it's a bit of a throw together team. They've obviously proven that they're amazing as a team. They're so over. Everyone loves them. Everyone's very happy for them winning the championships. But would that? Nah. I've talked myself out of it. I don't think the Young Bucks would win this, but I don't think I'd be dead surprised at that happening. To be honest with you, sort of like they hit rock bottom and then they're all the way back at the top again. But nah. Um, yeah, and then we've got Jet Speed as well. I do think that Jet Speed maybe have a chance as well, but ultimately, I don't know. Sorry, I'm just talking around in circles. Talking to yourself is crazy. It makes you go crazy. No, I think Rodrigo got this in the bag. I'm just gonna stick with my initial gut instinct, and if I can give you some life advice, just stick with your initial gut instinct. It's rarely wrong. Um, Card subject to change, but I believe I've covered like the main sort of card of what I believe is going to happen at All Out. Um, as I've been rattling through this week's Dynamite review. Um, and please let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong on any counts. Please feel free to tell me if you think I'm right as well. That'll be much appreciated. I'd love to be told that I'm right. Oh wait, I think I missed out. I think I forgot to mention about Tony Storm. I did actually. Sorry, I've just remembered this happened actually. So I accidentally skipped to when Aminata vs Tekla started, but Tony Storm actually did have a promo just before that, which makes more sense with the brawling happening afterwards. I did sort of think, wait, when was the Tony thing? But sorry about that. Yeah. She Tony put on a great promo as per usual, like she always does, and she had like the spotlight on her. And then Jimmy Hater and Chris Statlander joined in, sort of like peering out of the darkness, which was kind of funny. Unfortunately, everyone compared to Tony sounds shit on a microphone just because she's so natural. She's great. She is over the top. She's very animated. So she sounded amazing. They were sort of just rattling off catchphrases, which sounded a little bit lame next to Tony, but props to them. I always feel a bit uncomfy, like criticizing wrestlers for things like going inside the ring, cutting a promo, because I know the things that I can't do myself. I'm not saying that they were bad, but I'm sure you all know what I mean anyway. I think anyone pales in comparison to Tony Storm's acting ability and ability to build character and cut a promo. So yeah, but yeah, overall it was entertaining. It was funny, like everything that Tony Storm does. And then we went into Aminata vs Tekla. So if I was smart, I would maybe edit this in before then, but I'm not gonna do that because I just don't want to. So you're just gonna have to deal with it, I'm afraid. We've got a bit of non-chronological stuff going on. Um, but anyway, that wasn't even the end of Dynamite. I didn't even reach the end, sorry. We did have a whole angle after the match, as I've just described. The tag team match. Top Flight versus Don Callis family. Right. Are you following me? Are you following me? So that match has just finished. Um, then they started brawling. Everyone who's involved in that four ladder tag team match, whatever, started brawling. Um, and then Don Callis and like Lance Archer started attacking Christopher Daniels, which was a bit out of pocket. So then Hangman came and made the save, saving Christopher Daniels. We love a full circle redemption story, don't we? And Kyle Fletcher then turned up and they sort of faced off, and then Kyle went on the attack. Um, Kyle then teased that he was going to do to Hangman what he did to Kenny Omega, like brainbust him through the table. It looked like Hangman had reversed it. He was going for the buckshot, but then Kyle had grabbed the championship belt, hit Hangman with it across the head, and then he put him through the table with the brainbuster. Now, I'm sure you can tell with the enthusiasm at which I am relaying this was a really hot angle, and I loved it. It was awesome. Kyle was standing tall going in to All Out at the end of this Dynamite, so it was very much a full circle thing. We started off with these two, we finished with these two. That's perfect because, like I said, I really do believe this is going to be the main event. And yeah, I mean, Kyle just looks like a beast. He looks like a meanie, for lack of a better word, like really cruel, really violent. He's obviously put Kenny Omega on the sidelines, so you're going into this thinking, is Hangman going to be 100%? Obviously, they're going to probably play on an injury angle going into it. Yeah, man, I think that they've done a really good job of building up Kyle Fletcher to be a heel, obviously, a bitchy heel supported by a bitchy manager and a bitchy family, but also he doesn't need them to get the job done. And I think that's really important for singling him out as a very talented person, not just burying him as a pathetic heel. And I think that his story arc is going to be amazing, and his eventual rise to the top is going to be so much better for all of this foundation that they're laying now. I still think that Hangman's going to win on Saturday. I still think that Kyle Fletcher, like I said, I think he should lose because that'll build up to something really good, I believe. So that's it. I've got there eventually. We did a little bit of jumping back and forth, but yeah, that was the end of Dynamite, and that was the final shot of, sorry, September to Remember was Kyle Fletcher just holding the championship aloft. So normally the person who does that going into pay-per-view normally loses. But still, that's significant. That's red hot. I thought I just loved the way that they played this out. It wasn't straightforward, like, oh, we went on the beatdown, Hangman, and that was it. It was back and forth interaction. So, man, yeah, I think that they ended it on a high. I know that I criticised the main event, but ending with this angle was fantastic, and I feel like they could have ended on this angle and also ended on a better match, but oh well. So, to go back to my earlier question, how are they coping without Swerve, Ospreay, and Omega? I think pretty well. We've still got an absolutely stacked card for All Out. I think that the build has been maybe not as good as you would hope, but I think it's not been bad. It's pretty mediocre, I'd say. I think that the card probably. I think I've expressed my criticism with the card maybe being a bit overstuffed with, like, just inflated matches with too many people in them. And obviously, it's not nice when big people and big characters that you built a lot around can't be involved. But I think there's a potential for a lot of these matches to steal the show. It's clearly going to be another variety show. We've got coffins, we've got tables, we've got thumbtacks, we've got ladders, we've got everything. We've got everything basically. Um, I'm saying all this to procrastinate giving Dynamite this week like a rating because it's difficult on your own when you don't have someone to sense check what I'm saying, and it's hard because I think I've criticised it quite a lot, but ending on this note was really good. I don't think anything stood out as dead bad. But it also wasn't one of those episodes of Dynamite where you're like, oh my god, this was the best thing ever. I think for that reason I'd probably land on like a 7. That's what my gut instinct is telling me. Like I said, guys, you've got to go with your gut instinct. I just think, yeah, Hangman and Fletcher was obviously hot throughout. We've got interesting things at least going on with the Death Riders. Like, I mean, it's not always been interesting, has it, guys? But at least it's interesting now. It's not perfect, but we didn't have much from MJF, but he still managed to put on a pretty entertaining short segment. We had some excellent wrestling between lots of different people. Yeah, I think a 7 is fair. I think a 7 is fair, and for all the criticisms that I've given it, that's why it's not higher. But yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you disagree, or if you think I'm pretty spot on, or what did you think of Dynamite? Are you, maybe, is someone listening going to All Out? I would love to hear if you are, or be sure to tell us about your experience. If you go in, I hope you have a great time. No matter what you're getting up to this weekend, I hope you have a great time. Hopefully you'll be coming to Manchester to watch some amazing wrestling at Catch at the Bread Shed. I don't know, maybe. I'll try and remember to put a link in the caption. Yes, that's it. And now I have to wrap up, and it's always quite awkward wrapping up on my own. So that's it. That's the end. Bye.
I must bid you adieu, goodbye, and good night.
I wish you died in the womb!